Hello everybody, welcome back to Social Club. You'll see that we've upgraded one of our trio from yesterday. Flav has been shown the door. We've got Paul from the Redmen TV, who actually is the host of this show, but for this discussion, he's on the left-hand side. You'll find out in a second. Yesterday we did a video talking about the FIFA Pro World 11. We went through our 11, but in the goalkeeper category, there were some nominees that were possibly missing, one of which being Allison. Now, Allison made a bit of a mistake in the last game. Well, not a bit of a mistake, a big mistake, right? Yeah. But at the same time, Liverpool fans are very, very confident of what they've got there in Allison. So is he the answer to their prayers? Is he the guy? And is he the best goalkeeper in the Premier League? Or is it David De Gea, who's gone through a bit of a wobble recently? What's the truth? Fair. So, first of all, let's go to you, Paul. Alisson's come through the door. Mm-hmm. Huge money. Yeah. What have you thought of him so far? I
love him already. He's an absolute bear of a man, and he's dead good at what he does. It's hard to explain because I'd spoken to Flav very briefly about this earlier on today. He was trying to give me a general thought and how good is he? And I said, well, look, it's you know when you just know when you see a player, and it helps when it's an upgrade on someone else. So for an example, when Liverpool brought Joe Matip, he was better than what Liverpool had in centre half so far. So I was like, wow, this lad's really good. Yeah. I was like, great. And then when Virgil van Dijk come in, I went, oh no, that's what a world-class centre half looks like. And you know it the second. You only have to see a handful of games. And that's all I've seen of Alisson so far, you know, including pre-season, not maybe in addition to that. But he is... Karius did a decent interpretation of, I think, what a goalkeeper needs to look like in a Klopp system. Definitely more than Mignolet, so Karius looked like a bit of an upgrade, but this is like, oh, that's what he was meant to be doing when you see Allison do it.
But all that said, so this is the thing I find really interesting about the spotlight on this position. People aren't really talking about Naby Keita, not talking about Fabinho, they're talking about this position. And the mistake obviously puts more of a spotlight on it. But when you talk about, say, David De Gea, who's been the best player Man United have had for the last 5 seasons, then he has a couple of bad months, and now people are starting to say he's a bit dodgy. The goalkeeping position is such a unique position in terms of the way they are judged. And Alisson, after having this first mistake, which I want to dive into the mistake as well, Alisson, the spotlight on him is huge, isn't it?
I'm not sure why you would ever actually want to be a goalkeeper. In terms of the rewards you get, 99.9%, you're brilliant. No. You make one mistake, that all seems to get forgotten and pushed aside.
It's an utterly thankless task.
It massively is.
Sorry. Let me regale you with a story, James.
Okay.
Played Sunday League back in the day, and I've played with some terrible football teams over the years. And I remember you'd end up in the pub afterwards, and you always get banter being as you do with lads playing footy and whatever. I remember there was one game, and I'm pulling out a string of saves, and my centre half turning around to me going, I'll never ever have a bad word to say about you ever again. We lost that game about 6-0 or something, and inevitably I had about 15 shots. I kept about 15 out, and then I dropped one. And that's the one that gets brought up because that happened after I'd made the good saves. I made one mistake because inevitably goalkeepers will make mistakes, and that's the thing that gets brought up, and that's the thing that you have to live with as a goalkeeper, because you are only ever as good in the minds of people who don't necessarily watch week in, week out, or care to judge goalkeepers fairly. You're only ever as good or as bad as the last visible mistake that you've made.
The thing I would say about Alisson, the criticism that I would give him with the goal against Leicester is that mistake was preventable. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Joe Gomez should have shown for it. Yeah. But you see in the last 2 games, the Brighton, there's this audacious chip that, you know, everyone's seen on Twitter, it goes everywhere, and everyone goes, wow, this guy's the guy. The next week, he tries something else, and it goes wrong. I think that, in a nutshell, kind of says that's what you're getting with him. But is that worth it? The amount of risks he's going to take in the long run? Because I think we could be having this conversation in 2 months' time, and either he's had a really good 2 months and he hasn't made these big mistakes, or he makes 2 more mistakes because people are going, he likes to do a Cruyff turn when he gets the ball. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you've got a dodgy goalkeeper.
So
again.
that was clearly, it's targetable how he plays the game. So it's actually happened in every game that we've played so far. Brighton did it in particular, looking to press him, looking to get him on the back. I think it was Glenn Murray was charged with just getting on his toes sound. So you're on the lookout for it, and I think there's two things. I think he's still adapting to the pace of the league, because let's be honest, Italian centre forwards bearing down on you. I mean, Glenn Murray probably is lightning by comparison to most of the forwards in Serie A. So there's definitely an adaptation period in terms of him having an understanding of what he can get away with. But also it's systemic as well. He's got to fit in with the system better, and it's dead easy to say, but just don't put it to touch, mate. You know what I mean? But do that. That's exactly how you say it. That's your...
Because I think you should have loved it to touch.
That's your geezer voice,
by the way.
Geezer voice. Right. But it's very easy to say that. But the way that you're taught, the way that he's taught to play, and the way he's been brought in, he's been, you're supposed to pass the ball, you're supposed to maintain possession. If you boot it out of play, or if you get into the swing of that's how you get out of things, it's not his natural way of playing. The simple fact of the matter is, he should kick it. And I think next time, if he looks up and there's nothing on, I think he will just lump it. Yeah. But as it stands, he will think, if there's no ball on here, there will be a ball on over here instead. And that's why he's tried to Cruyff it, because he would do that whether he was under pressure or not under pressure. If there's no ball onto the right, it's okay. You just go and you take the ball over to the left. He just made the Cruyff turn was never on. It was never on in that situation, because he was always going to turn into danger. It doesn't bother me, because at the minute it's an isolated thing and it's not cost us anything. If you're going to make mistakes, make them when you're 2-0 up in a football match.
Yeah, true. The only thing I don't like the Brighton shit. I don't like it. There's a ball straight in front of him. There's a ball just to the left, or he could have wellied it. He's outside of his box and he does this little chip. It looks great, and I guess that's what football's about. But not with your goalkeeper. I don't like. Maybe I'm being an old fogey, but I don't like that.
You understand the risks that these possession-based goalkeepers take, because the manager wants them to play out from the back, and when a striker bears down on a goalkeeper, it creates space for a fullback to get the ball. But that risk you're talking about there, dinking it over when you've got available, that's just showboating. That's not taking a risk. That's just an unnecessary risk. That's an added risk. But these goalkeepers will continue doing it. And if you're saying that all the teams that have played Liverpool so far have targeted him, and it hasn't really come back to sting, maybe against Spurs, a team that really has a high press and they play with it and play it a hell of a lot better than most teams in the league, that's maybe where you're going to see the first real test of Allison.
Do you think there's an element of, like, this is just the first 6 months that he needs to get through? Like with De Gea, the idea was that he was going to come in and he needed to be the number one. And it took him a lot longer. Yeah, it's just the part for the course of a goalkeeper that they almost need to get through this period, and then we'll truly know if he's good.
I would say yes, but it's different in that when United signed De Gea, I think he was 21 from Atletico Madrid. He was just coming through, whereas Alisson is the product. You bought him at his peak, not technically at his peak, but he pretty much is.
Miles off his peak, to be fair.
He's still already a world-class goalkeeper, so you're not going to have as much freedom and as much give from the press and from the fans in terms of if you do make mistakes.
I think it's the other way around, mate, if I'm perfectly honest. I disagree with that. You get more time when you've built up a bank of good work. If you look at Loris Karius as an example, came as a £5 million goalkeeper from Mainz, and he had a bit of a rough start to his Liverpool career. Well, who is he? He's this no-mark lad, and he thinks he's a bit of a pretty boy. Alisson comes as Brazil's #1, having had a great season in Serie A. And if he makes a mistake, it's not, you can go, it's within his character. He is a known commodity. Whereas if someone you don't know makes mistakes, you just don't give them the time. It's the same way we give, foreign superstars at times. We get a bit more length than maybe than young kids and stuff.
I think it's somewhere in the middle, actually, because I think the fact is the new Chelsea goalkeeper. People aren't really worrying about him because there isn't that story before it. When Schmeichel retires, the next goalkeeper struggles because there's that story leading into it. With Liverpool, you've got the Karius. The Karius factor is the worst thing for Allison to have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
He went to another big club.
Liverpool were in a lose-lose situation because if Loris Karius starts the season, this is taking out his headspace and where he's at and whether he's able to get himself back into being a useful contributing member of a football team. But there's the media spotlight's on him. Well, the media spotlight, when Allison played his first game for us in a pre-season game, and people were going, "Way!" when he kicked the ball or when he caught the ball, and that stopped.
Yeah,
so Karius had that all pre-season, and he's having to bear the cross that's basically been laid on for him by Loris Karius, unfortunately. But the thing is, again, he's a confident lad. This is not a lad who's coming in who's trying to make his name in football. Again, he's Brazil's #1. he walks in with, he's already walking around like he's got a massive knob, you know what I mean? And that's fair play, and that he carries himself like that. Like, and if those videos doing around, he very much has as well.
What videos?
Well, no, he carries himself like a professional, like a genuine professional, and not a kid learning his trade, not looking somebody who's looking to
He's got the swag.
You can't mistake his confidence for arrogance, because keepers have to be confident, but at the same time they have to be arrogant, because you have to be a bit loose in your head to be a goalkeeper, because it's such an unforgiving position.
There's a world of difference between, because we talk about continental style goalkeepers, and you can normally identify them by having short sleeves, and it's a lot more complicated than that in the 90s now, like that it was in the 90s. But you look at an example, look at Bruce Grobbelaar, and then you look at Lionel Perez, and that's a reference for you and a half, former Sunderland goalkeeper.
I remember it, yeah.
They were both had that eccentricity about them. They come out their area, they do mad things. Lionel Perez was shit. Bruce Grobbelaar was a world-class goalkeeper, and it's not about those little tricks and flicks. It's about doing the rest of the stuff around it. Alisson's distribution is the best I've seen from a goalkeeper at Liverpool. It's up there with Edison for me at Man City, and I'm blown away by how good he is as a footballer. Yeah. And it's about his ability to keep the ball out to the back of the net. And at the minute, he's keeping the ball out of the back of the net, and he's adding a new dimension to Liverpool's play in how he plays, noticeably as well, in terms of how good he is. He's like fucking Steven Gerrard as a goalkeeper, the way he distributes the ball. Yeah. So if he does those little mad moments as well, that's just him having charisma and character and personality. That's part of the whole package. He's not just some mad loony who comes in and does stupid tricks. He's not René Higuita. He's the whole package.
Right. I'm intrigued to see that by the end of this season, who we're calling the best goalkeeper in the Premier League.
Well, I think De Gea has been, for the last 3 years probably, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Last year's season was pretty much faultless. He had the best save percentage in the Premier League. This year, if you're looking at what happened at the World Cup, he was scapegoated. The Spain team went out, they crashed out. It's just De Gea made a mistake, the media held on to it. And unfortunately for De Gea, that's kind of what happened. At the start of United this season...
It's amazing the reverberations of that.
It's crazy, given that you're talking about people giving grace periods of, oh look, you're established, you expect it. It's complete opposite has happened to De Gea. He's had 4 faultless years. He's had a little wobble, he's like, whoa, let's forget that.
His problem though, is that we talk about this stuff in the bank kind of thing. He's got that for Man United. He's got that in the Premier League. I don't think there's a Premier League fan who doesn't think David De Gea is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. I think, you can maybe bracketing people close to him.
Here's a question for you. Finish your point first.
But the point is, for Spain, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have any credit in the bank for Spain. Properly. So you speak to Spain fans, and I'm not going to speak for every Spanish person here, but I know people who support Spain. They don't want him as the Spanish goalkeeper because they don't regard him as hard. They don't see him every week.
Yeah, exactly.
If he played like he had done for Man United in La Liga, I don't think there'd be any shadow of a doubt. Whereas there's people who don't want him as the first choice in that regard, and that's the. The point I'm getting around that there's no such thing as a perfect goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Final question. If I took away both your goalkeepers and you can pick one, you can have De Gea or Allison as your goalkeeper. Who would you choose? Both of you.
Especially given how United playing right now, I'm still going to keep De Gea. Because Allison is clearly better than De Gea in terms of... Oh, that's weird. De Gea's distribution last season or prior to last season was brilliant. He's exactly like Edison, he's exactly like Allison. His long balls had real direction. He wasn't just lumping it. But now we're lumping it a bit more. We are playing a little bit more Mourinho out from the back. We should be playing... When we play 3-5-2, we end up playing with more possession, and it's better. And you see a little bit more from De Gea in terms of distribution. But Alisson is clearly better than him. But in terms of the shot stoppers, I still think De Gea is the best shot stopper in the league, and that's why he'd stay in goal for me. You know where I'm, for the first time in a decade, I'm able to go, I wouldn't swap my goalkeeper for any other goalkeeper. I have had cast jealous glances at De Gea, because why not? Because he's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And that's not to say that Alisson is better than De Gea. I'm just quite happy with Alisson at the moment. Now, he's got to do a full season. We've got to see if he can continue the progression that he did, because look, he's gone from being an understudy at Roma under Szczesny. How's that happened? How was that man had a professional career? I remember him at Arsenal, right?
Juventus, no?
Exactly. Taking him from Buffon at Juventus.
Things change. That's
my God. How is that? Yeah, there's another great lesson in goalkeepers: is don't write them off too soon. Yeah. But yeah, I want to see a full year of Allison, and if he continues to do all the things he does around it, he looks like he could be. He's got the quality to be a very top end of the Premier League goalkeeper. Yeah. And but if it was just take it on today, and you knew you could guarantee, because you guarantee with David De Gea, then I could see a case, but I'm happy at the moment.
That's lovely to hear for. These two happy with their goalkeepers. Which one would you choose?
Who's keeping our goalkeeper?
We're in between goals. We've got a guy called Joe Lumley. He's absolutely fabulous.
Wow. Have you listened to it,
Get it? No, nobody.
Wow.
That's a QPR joke, very niche. QPR jokes. David De Gea or Allison? Who would you choose? We'll put a poll card up right now. Go check out that FIFA Pro video that we did yesterday. Also, you got one for the weekend, and we've got a preview between Flav and Chris Pajak for the big game, Spurs versus Liverpool this weekend. Subscribe to Ball Street, click that like button, and we'll see you soon.